Hey guys, welcome back to Related Christ. And actually, this is not Related Christ. This is another flood story. So, yes, thank you guys. This is my very first Another Flood Story video. I will be doing these every Friday. Please, stay for Friday. But yes, this is my very first one. We will be starting in the European countries, and the first country we are going to do is Greece. So, Greece. What is the Greece flood story? That is my question. That is all of our question. It's called the Flood of Deucalion. Now, the Flood of Deucalion is actually pretty interesting because a lot of people, mainly atheists and agnostics, believe that the flood of Noah actually came from the flood of Deucalion, and I'm going to destroy that theory in this video. Now, let's go with the story. Now, the first part of this video, I will be talking about the story of the flood. The story of the flood of Deucalion, yes. So, I'll be starting with that, and then the second part of this video, I will be trying to do 7 points of debunking this theory. Now, I'm very excited to do this video, so let's start on it. So, this is how the story started. Zeus got really mad at his people in the Bronze Age. He didn't really like them at all. They were awful people. They'd kill people and then eat their hearts. That's pretty bad. Now, you know, I'm just guessing that you or me would flood them out. So, Zeus flooded his people out, okay? He was like, hey, I'm going to destroy you people, okay? So, he did. But before he did, Prometheus probably overheard his conversation in the heavens on Mount Olympus, woo. And so, he warned his mortal son, Deucalion, hey, there's a big storm coming, son. You gotta get ready. You gotta build an ark with your wife, Pyrrha. Now, Pyrrha was actually the daughter of Epimetheus and Pandora. Pandora as in the one with the Pandora's box. Yes. So, that's how that started. So, Pyrrha and her husband, Deucalion, built the ark. So, they built the ark, then the floodwaters came down. The floodwaters came down. It flooded everything beyond the Isthmus and Peloponnese. Pretty sure I'm not saying that right. Now, it flooded all of that. A lot of translations say that it pretty much just flooded some, and a lot of people survived at the top, but the first ever recorded story of this never even says that anyone survived. It really just says that Pyrrha and Deucalion survived. So, let's just go with the original part. So, no one survives from the flood. Deucalion and Pyrrha are on the ark for 9 days, and then they land in Mount Parnassus. Now, they're very lonely in the world, like, very lonely. It's kind of Adam and Eve all over again, or just Adam. But in this situation, it's Pyrrha and Deucalion. So, they're really lonely, they want some kin, they want some friends. So, that's what they did. So, they went to goddess Themis, right? They went to a palace, and they were like, hey, we lonely. You know, what should we do? How do we make these people? And she's like, take the bones of your mother and throw them. That's a very vague statement, but what it meant was take rocks off the ground and throw them behind your shoulder. So, I guess that makes sense. So, they did just that. Everywhere they went, they took rocks, threw them over their shoulders, and every rock that Deucalion threw became men. Every rock that Pyrrha threw became women, as it should be. But they wanted some actual DNA kin of their own. So the DNA kin of their own, they did have some the old-fashioned way. And pretty sure we all know what that means. So, that was the flood of Deucalion. They lived. It was all cool. It's all groovy. Yeah. So, that's how it went. Now, that was the first part of the video. It's a flood story. Another flood story. Now, the second part of the video is going to be debunking. It's debunking time. I am going to go through 7 points of debunkitation of the flood of Deucalion. So, very first point is Zeus. The existence of Zeus never happened. Okay, Zeus ain't a real guy at all. Alright? Never a real guy, never gonna be a fella of reality. Never. Okay? Zeus wasn't a real guy, mainly because of this fact. So Noah and his family, they're like the beginning of mythology. Okay? Berosus wrote about him. Ovid probably wrote about him. Holinshed wrote about him. Josephus wrote about him. Many theologians in the 17th century and 16th century and 14th, whatever, wrote about them, which is pretty neat. And so we can actually trace if Hercules is assigned to this person, if Osiris from the Egyptian gods assigned to this person, and we actually can trace those things. So Zeus actually kind of intercedes or parallels with Mithram, who is the grandson and the second oldest son of Ham and the grandson of Noah. So that basically goes with Zeus. And this is agreed on by Josephus. This is agreed on even by Holinshed, who is a pretty famous historian. Now, what is also actually pretty neato mosquito is that the word in Hebrew for Egypt is Mithram, or it might be Mishram, something like that. And it's actually quite ironic because Holinshed and Josephus actually also said that Mithram actually paralleled with Osiris, who is basically practically the founder of Egypt there. So, yeah, that's pretty neat.
That's pretty neat!
So that was basically the first thing, is just destroying the existence of Zeus in general. The second debunking. The second debunking is how the flood of Deucalion actually corresponds with many historical events in history, such as the reign of King Thutmose III in Egypt, and also King Sesostris I in Egypt as well. In fact, it actually corresponds when Moses was crossing the Red Sea. It also corresponds when he was writing the Torah. See, the flood of Deucalion happened in 1450. A lot of people think that the flood of Noah actually came from this, but in fact, the flood of Noah was written thousands of years before the flood of Deucalion was ever even documented. The flood of Deucalion was probably documented in the early ADs or even late BCs. I'll give them that. But see, the flood of Noah was probably documented in the early 14th century BC. So there's really no debate, honestly. But yeah, so that right there, that's the first part. Third debunking. We see no population spikes, that would be weird. Spikes in that time. Now we can actually go back into a mitochondrial clock to see whether there was a population spike in the time of Noah after the flood. And we can actually see a population spike from DNA, whatever, I don't know how it works. We can see it in that time. For the flood of Deucalion in 1450, we see absolutely no population spikes. It kind of destroys it already, right there. Period. The fourth debunking. The fourth debunking is that Deucalion and Pyrrha would absolutely have no time to build the ark. See, Zeus was basically a god who was pretty quick to do his will. So if Prometheus told Deucalion and Pyrrha to build an ark, it probably wouldn't be a lot of time. And a lot of people think, it wouldn't take long because it's only holding 2 people. And then we fall into another problem. What happened to, the sea creatures, the animals? The sea creatures would probably be okay, the birds would probably be okay, insects, whatever. Amphibians, leave them alone. But, the land animals, the plain animals, dinosaurs, in that time, there were dinosaurs in that time, okay? What happened to them? There would be no, there's no sign, no talking about the animals surviving and the ark being built. Noah had 75 years to build the ark. And you can go to Answers in Genesis and see for yourself. You can go to Institute for Creation Research. But Deucalion and Pyrrha had, a day. So, don't know how that works out. Now, the time that the flood actually happened for the flood of Deucalion was 9 days, as we see from the records written down. So, as a matter of fact, if we see that the amount of water and the height that it went to for the flood of Noah and correspond it with the flood of Deucalion, we can actually see that it didn't really hit too high. People would have plenty of enough time to get to the tops. Yet the first ever documented part or writing of the flood of Deucalion said that no one survived. It was only after the first documentation people started to say, oh no, some people survived off the top of mountains. But they really didn't, at all. See, for the flood of Deucalion to actually flood everything, the speed the rain would have to go at would probably pierce through the wood of the Ark of Deucalion. It would most likely destroy it. So, that kind of just, destroys it right there, you know? But yeah, so, the speed of it would most likely destroy it. For people to actually be dead, there'd have to be a longer time of the flood going on. It couldn't just be really 9 days. Debunking number 6. Now, there is actually no evidence for a flood beyond the Isthmus and Peloponnese. There's, no sign of a flood. The only sign of a flood is because of a canal that is man-made, which was made thousands of years after the flood of Deucalion supposedly happened. And the last one, debunking number 7. Now, debunking number 7 is actually pretty cool. I had, days of research actually doing on this one. It really wasn't days, I was just having fun. So, we're going to talk about the etymology of the word las and leoi. Now, pretty sure I didn't say that right, but it's okay. We all make mistakes. We all fall short of the glory of God. It's okay. So, I forgot to mention this in the story. But basically, the rocks that Deucalion and Pyrrha threw behind their backs, that's how a lot of people think the etymology of the words las and leoi came into the Greek language. But they actually didn't. We can see the etymology of the word las. I don't know about the word leoi, but it probably came from the same language. But basically, the etymology of the word las came from the Proto-Hellenic language, which was spoken a long time before the Bronze Age even happened. It was spoken, a long time. It would be spoken thousands of years before the supposed etymology from the flood of Deucalion even probably made it. So, the etymology came from the Proto-Greek language, which was a language that not even the Greek gods would have spoken. It came from the word leos, which basically meant armed people, but the word las and leoi means stones, as in people who came from stones. But it did come from the Proto-Hellenic language. So yeah, that is the debunkings. I really hope that you guys liked the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please love God. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Please stay tuned for every Friday for these flood story videos. And I'm just so excited. I'm so happy to do them for you guys. So thank you just really so much for this opportunity to do them. And if it actually gets to the point, wow, that was a voice crack. If it actually gets to the point where I want to do more flood story videos, I might even start doing them on Monday as well, and on Friday, so that I can just kind of speed them up. But thank you guys so much for just staying tuned, and just thank you guys for just watching this video anyway. So please just get more knowledge about the Bible. Please love Jesus, and please subscribe, guys. Thank you guys so much. Worthy is the Lamb, and a good night.